Wade and Wade reacts.
We got a subscriber request to check out an Armored Core video. The subscriber has been asking us to do this one for a long time. So I hope you enjoy this one and let's get into it.
The PlayStation 1 has a lot of groundbreaking titles that would go on to define the gaming industry. Metal Gear Solid, Symphony of the Night, Tekken 3, almost all of Squaresoft's work. However, Armored Core was not one of them. It was instead a sleeper hit, slowly amassing a cult following that enjoyed its customization with obtuse yet engaging game design. From Sophomore is more well known these days for games like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring, and for good reason.
Okay, I didn't know they made
All-around
Armored Core
deserve
too.
all the acclaim and accolades they got. However, Armored Core was their staple series for a decade and a half for a reason, putting out 15 games in that time span. The series got
That's
5
crazy.
entries that, with each, had at least one
That was
expansion.
a good time to be a
Sometimes way more
fan.
than that, usually split into their own generations. Not all of these games are perfect, but each generation at least brings some new game mechanics to the table. The series started off with its first generation, those being Armored Core 1, Project Phantasma, and Master of Arena. This video is going to cover all 3 games and discuss what each game adds on to the previous experience, as well as my general thoughts, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. These games are neat. Now before we start, warning, I like Armored Core. I grew up with the PS2 and PS3 era of games and have a decent amount of experience with them, so keep that bias in mind as I talk about these games. I decided to emulate these games on PC mainly for the sake of recording. I don't physically own the PlayStation 1 trilogy, and looking at the prices on the secondhand market, it's pretty dire. You can buy the first Armored Core, in the States at least, via the PSN store as a PS1 download
That's always
on
good.
PS3 or the Vita. The picture quality is kind of rough on PS3. However, on the Vita the game looks pretty sharp, and you can also button assign to make the controls work on 2 analog sticks. My hands tend to cramp when I play like this though, so your mileage may vary. You can
that's
also
way too
transfer
small of a
memory card
device.
data between systems, so that's cool. But here's the thing, those systems are retro by this point. While the Vita is in this middle ground currently, whether or not it's retro, the PS3 was released in 2006. Like for real, who has a PS3 plugged in or a Vita charged? While I do enjoy these systems for
I got
specific
an Xbox
reasons,
360
I wouldn't
plugged
recommend
in.
acquiring those systems just to play Armored Core 1. Other than crazy people like me, your only real option for the PS1 games is emulation via a PC, especially if you want to play more than the first one. DuckStation works as the best option for PlayStation 1 emulation in 2023, and it's what I used. I rolled with essentially the stock PlayStation 1
The movement
settings,
was pretty
other
good
than
though.
geometry correction
For a game that
or
came out
switching
back
to correct
then.
textures, which makes the polygons not warbled due to the power of more math. And that's cool. There is also the option of what's called a Mr. FPGA, which has really accurate hardware emulation.
It
which
has
is
some
different than
impressive
software
mechanics.
emulation, which is what most PC emulators use, which always has some level of inaccuracy. It also has cool native features, like native widescreen and CPU overclocking to get better in-game performance. However, that option's only recommended if you're really into retro games, because it's an expensive investment. Unless these games are re-released in the future, I would honestly
That is
recommend
expensive.
just emulating. Hey, if these games are re-released, just buy them that way. Anyway, let's get that out of the way and talk about the game. It's so humbling to see the beginning of the 3D era of video games, to see how far games have come. Nothing exemplifies that more than the intro FMV to Armored Core. It actually does a decent job in showing off what the game is all about, choosing and changing your AC, the mechs are called Armored Cores, and taking it out on missions, but looking at it now, it's objectively rough. Here's the thing, it's just so cute to see early 3D animation being played off as serious and cool. Plus, you can kind of sell its stiffness due to the only things being on the screen being mechs and robots. It's fun, it's old, and it sells the game decently enough. Anyways, pressing New Game makes you put in your pilot's name, and then it takes you to the screen that is a quick briefing on the Raven's test. This is the only test that we give to people who want to become a Raven. You must battle against the opponent AC and survive. If you survive, you will be considered a Raven. That's all. Good luck. You immediately spawn in and start getting shot at by your opponents. They throw you into the wolves for this fight. There is no screen that shows you the controls.
That's
you
crazy.
Can't go into an options menu. And
That's the
see
definition of a
options for
crash
control
course.
layouts or
Sounds like a
anything
From
like
Software
that.
game
It's
to me.
survive or die. Let's tackle the controls since we're here. This is an early 3D game, so the controls are not the standard twin-stick configuration that games have nowadays. The game has tank controls on the D-pad, so up and down are move forward and backward, and left and right on the D-pad are look left and right respectively. So that means L1 and R1 are strafe left and right, and L2 and R2 are look up and down. This is before the DualShock controller was out, so the scheme makes sense for its time. This doesn't mean the control scheme is aged well for people who aren't used to it. The game doesn't demand a total precision in terms of positioning and location, so that mitigates a lot of the damage I find. Anyway, the rest of the actions are on the face buttons, your 2 attack buttons, your switch weapons button, and your boost/jump button.
Okay.
The boost button functions as a grounded boost when you're holding a direction. If you're standing still, it works as a jump if you tap the button, but flight if you hold it. If you're boosting
pretty
one
cool.
particular direction on the ground, if you let go and tap/hold the button again, you begin flight in that direction. There's a lot of depth that feels natural once you're used to it in this one button. It's great. It's also tied to your energy gauge, so usage is naturally limited. Circle strafing was usually the solution to victory in early 3D games, and it does work for a bit in this game. However, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution against enemy ACs and other groups of enemies. Instead, double tapping the boost button while moving allows you to move fast and regen your energy at the same time. It's essentially bunny hopping, and while it's not necessary, it's a pretty useful skill to learn. There's a bit of a learning curve in this game's gameplay. Managing ammo, your energy, trying to dodge enemy fire, all of these at once can be a little daunting. Luckily, this first fight is just against 2 smaller guys, and it's quick to restart if you fail, so it's not that big of a deal. The game does get much tougher later, but the difficulty curve is good enough for the players to learn the ropes. You beat the test, and you get a call over the radio.
The test is over. From this moment on, you are a raven.
You load into the Raven's Nest, which is where you'll be spending a lot of time in the game, from customizing your AC, to accepting missions, reading the mail, buying parts, etc. It's a pretty plain screen, but it does convey all the info you need in a clean fashion, so I wouldn't say it's a positive or a negative. Now we get to one of the most important and defining menus in the
Customization was
entire
pretty good.
series, the garage. Here you can
Oh, yeah.
customize your AC in a multitude.
Pretty extensive for an old game.
There's the assembly menu, which is where you can change out all of your parts, from your 4 body parts, that being your head, arms, legs, and core, your 4 weapon slots, 2 back units, a right arm weapon and a left arm weapon, your generator for your energy, your FCS or firing control system, and your boosters. Now all of these might seem a bit self-explanatory and have multiple assets associated with them, but the FCS is a little unique. The large box that you might have seen on screen during gameplay has a part associated with it. Any enemy that is in this box, your AC will lock onto and you could shoot at the enemy as your target. The size, shape, and reactiveness of the lock-on is mostly dependent on your FCS. It also affects the amount of missile lock-ons and the effective lock-on range. This lockbox is effective at getting rid of precision that a lot of early 3D games suffered from, making it easier for the player to focus on movement and resource management. Back to the options.
A lot of
in
thought
the
went into the
garage.
development of
There's
this
the
game.
optional parts menu, where depending on your core, you can equip a certain amount of enhancements parts at no penalty. There's the performance menu, which gives you a rough overview of your AC, although the screen doesn't ultimately matter too much. The change color menu allows you to change the color scheme of your body parts. You can change each part individually or all parts at once. Each part has 3 sections that can be assigned different colors via the 3 sliders of RGB, so you can get really creative with your AC's look. For this early in 3D games, it's really cool and impressive, not to mention
It
the
is.
mood to make your AC feel like it's your own. There's also patterns, but I didn't really use these and I've never been a big fan. There's the edit emblem option.
This game
which is
probably
pretty
went crazy back in the
self-explanatory.
day.
It's a paint feature to
Yeah,
draw.
I bet it
whatever
was
emblem you
definitely
want. You
revolutionary.
have your color palette. You've got a
And did he
filter
say it was
tool,
on
scroll
PS1?
tool, line bar,
I think so.
circle tools. It's a
Yeah, that's
decent
crazy.
amount of features. It gets put on your AC's shoulder and shows up in the ranking menu when you reach the upper echelon of Ravens later in the game. The AC name entry is also pretty self-explanatory. You enter a name for your AC. Then finally, one of the most important options, the AC test. This is an invaluable tool. You can take your AC on a test drive without spending cash on ammo or repair expenses. This is a great resource for trying out new builds and parts without the danger of going into a mission unprepared. Definitely use
that's cool.
at every opportunity. Building an AC that is functional and is good enough to be successful is a skill curve in of itself. Using all of your tools at your disposal to make something that you're comfortable piloting and won't cost too much to maintain, knowing what parts to prioritize and upgrading, recognizing what part
it
of your
made you
AC is
maintain
cause
the
of
parts,
failure
too.
needs change, a balance in weapons and what each one is useful for, it might seem aimless if you're lost. Learning this curve and what you prioritize or care about to keep on top of is a part of the difficulty of Armored Core. There is a second part to all of this, and that has to do with the shop. As you complete missions, you'll start to get some money. Now with said cash, the shop allows you to buy a staggering amount of parts for your AC. While it might seem like there's a lot of the store that is inaccessible because of its price, you can just sell your old part to get a decently upgraded
That's
part
cool.
to help you get a new one. The parts you own in this game never degrade in value.
Sounds
so if
like
you
going
buy
to
a part
GameStop
that
back
is
in the day.
expensive and you don't like it, you can just sell it to get all of your money back. This is a key part of the formula. The game wants and expects you to experiment with your AC. This is why the AC test option in the garage
Super
is so
interactive.
important. You can test out parts that you have the budget for with no cost. Do you want energy rifle instead of the original rifle you start with? Just sell the old rifle. Find out that your generator can't keep up with that new energy rifle you just bought? Sell the energy rifle, buy the old weapon again, and upgrade the generator so you can get the energy rifle later once you
That's
complete
cold.
some more missions. Without this customization, Armored Core would be a neat but forgettable third-person action game. With these elements, it elevates what
I'm
would be
surprised at this
standard
level
into
of
something that
customization
feels like your own,
for an old
like you're
man.
responsible
Yeah, me too.
for all your victories and losses, like it's your journey. The customization can appeal to people who treat customization as a thing to solve, or people who want to fashion their AC. It's very cool. The heights that this game reaches is only because of the combination of all of its elements, creating this loop of great gameplay. From Software has been always great at personalizing your journey, even all the way back in 1997. It's part of their identity. There are other parts to this menu, like the ranking menu.
This was a pretty cool video so far. It's like an hour and 10 minutes. I don't expect us to be watching this whole thing in one sitting, but it was pretty cool. If you're interested in checking out this video, the link to this person's channel will be in the description. Shout out to the creator as well, because this was a well done video. You know, most videos where you have somebody breaking down things, it's boring, but he made this video entertaining and it was informative at the same time. So shout out to that person.
Yeah, shout out to Cinnamonlyn. This creator did a really good job at breaking down why Armored Core was such a revolutionary game at the inception of 3D gaming back when PS1 first came out. And as he was explaining it, and I was looking at some of the features that this Armored Core game had, especially when it came down to customization. This game right here has better customization than some games that have come out in the modern gaming era. Some games in 2025 can't match the customization of the first Armored Core.
Yeah, so for all the Armored Core fans, you know, give us some info about this game and tell us down in the comments, did you enjoy this game? Was your mind blown when this game first came out? Because I know if I would have played this game on PlayStation 1, I would have been like, oh man, I need some more of this. But they kept on, like the person said in the beginning, they kept on creating these games. And we know that they had, like, what was the Armored Core 6? That was on the current gen system. So they basically kept giving the Armored Core fandom, you know, something to play. Most games, like, you know, I'm gonna call out Halo, they haven't been consistent and they haven't been giving us good games. But it seems like with Armored Core, their fan base has been satisfied with each game that they put out.
I agree with that. And I can see why. Because the modifications you could make to the mech, the gameplay, all the way down to how the story flows, this game is definitely legendary.
Yeah, and to the subscriber that's been wanting us to check this out for a long time, hopefully this is enough. I don't know if we're going to be watching the entirety of this video in parts like you asked, but you did ask us to check out another video from this creator about Armored Core in the 5th generation, so we'll definitely be checking that video out as well.
That does it for our reaction to this subscriber request. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss a video from Wade and Wade Reacts.
And we're out of here.
Peace.